Hey there besties! Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're continuing our recap of the manhwa, Marriage of Convenience. If you're new to this series, check the description below for links to previous episodes. Lastly, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy the video. It really helps our channel grow. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started.
The sun had reached its peak, casting a golden glow over the tournament arena. The crowd, once loud with cheers and jeers, now sat in breathless anticipation. Zachary Ivano stood atop his horse, helmet tucked under his arm. "That's right, I'm sure you're already familiar with the Zachary de Arno. That's my man," Bianca said with a small smile. Zachary held his lance firmly as he rode to his position for the final match. It was a duel worthy of a contender for the championship. The arena was silent except for the sharp exhales of the horses and the crisp clacking of their hooves. Yet Bianca sat as still as ever, her posture composed, watching the match unfold as if it were an ordinary practice session. But the calm she displayed was only surface deep. Her hands were tightly clasped in her lap, her gaze never wavering. "Don't look away," she told herself. "And make sure the count is unharmed." The match began. Zachary charged at his opponent, his focus unbreakable. Their lances struck, shields clashing with a loud crack. Zachary's blow shattered his opponent's shield. Bianca's eyes widened in amazement, the moment unfolding faster than she could follow. The declaration came immediately. "The winner is Sir Zachary de Arno." Cheers erupted around the arena. A servant hurried toward Bianca. "Madam, his lordship won," Ivonne exclaimed, nearly breathless. "He won. And the count is safe." Tears welled in Bianca's eyes as relief flooded through her. Zachary guided his horse toward her stand, noticing out of the corner of his eye that Fernand had quietly slipped away from her side. Bianca's cheeks were flushed, her gaze fixed warmly on him. "The rims of her eyes are red. Was she crying?" Zachary thought, his heart catching in his chest. "She was worried about me." A smile tugged at his lips. He had been distracted by trivial concerns, while Bianca had been worrying for him the entire time. "Maybe I'm imagining it, but I want to believe it's true," he thought as he reached for the rose tucked into his armor. He fumbled for a moment, his fingers clumsy. "Why can't I grasp the rose?" He glanced at the many roses already gathered beside Bianca, a sudden urgency pushing him to act faster. "I think," Zachary began, hesitant but earnest, "I'd prefer if you didn't come to the matches for a while." Bianca blinked in surprise. "Pardon?" "I can't concentrate," he confessed. "All those petty gnats that hover around you, they distract me. I'll win the tournament, no matter what. You only need to come on the final day," he said, holding the rose out to her. "You'll win no matter what? Are you serious?" she asked, a hint of tension in her voice. "The outcome is obvious, isn't it?" he replied with quiet certainty. Bianca, cheeks flushed, reached out and gently took the rose from his hand. "Very well," she said simply. "I'll do as you say." And so, while the crowd cheered in the arena during the following tournament days, Bianca stayed in her quarters, spending her time in peaceful solitude, tatting lace. But the same couldn't be said for Ivonne. Seated beside Bianca, Ivonne looked utterly distraught as she held up a tangled mess of thread. "Madam, what do I do? I completely wasted good thread on this disaster." "I'm so sorry," she said, near tears. Bianca smiled softly. "Ivonne, you really are hopeless at this sort of thing," she thought fondly. Taking the mess from Ivonne's hands, Bianca said gently, "It's all right. I'll just unravel it carefully." Truthfully, Bianca had hoped Ivonne could help her prepare lace gifts for the first queen and princess orderly. It seemed now she would be finishing them alone. Ivonne let out a deep sigh. "What do I do, madam? Who would want to marry a girl like me who can't do anything properly?" Bianca glanced at her with a teasing smile. "Why worry? You have Sir Gaspard." "No, madam. It's not like that," Ivonne cried, her face turning crimson. Bianca raised an eyebrow, amused. "I should have known when you wanted to learn lacework. You wanted to make a handkerchief for him, didn't you? So, did Gaspard confess to you?" Flustered, Ivonne shook her head. "No. He just gave me a rose, but it wasn't what you think." Bianca's expression softened. "He gave you a rose in public. That's as good as a confession in this town." But Ivonne couldn't bring herself to tell Bianca the full truth, that she had been avoiding Sir Gaspard since receiving the rose. "He's a good man," she thought. "But he's a knight, and that kind of life is dangerous." Bianca, noticing the uncertainty in Yvonne's eyes, spoke gently. Yvonne, it doesn't matter if you're bad at lace. You have loyalty, heart, and courage. Those are far more important. She smiled warmly. A man who doesn't see that is throwing away a blessing. And whether you marry or not, what matters is living the life you choose. Tears welled up in Yvonne's eyes at Bianca's words. And remember, Bianca added, her voice firm but kind, I, Bianca de Arno, will always have your back. Madam, Yvonne whispered, overwhelmed. At that moment, the door burst open. A guard rushed in, breathless. My lady. Miss Yvonne. Both women turned sharply. Sir Sova. Bianca said. Has today's tournament ended already? But his face was grave. There was an accident at the competition. Bianca's heart dropped. That can't be, she whispered, rising to her feet. Her voice trembled. How could this happen? The first 2 days were just preliminaries, Sova explained. Today was the third day, when they would narrow down the knights who would compete in the finals. Zachary had won his match against Joachim. Wow. His lordship didn't even go easy on Count Blanchefort's son. That's his brother-in-law, too, Sova said, watching the two men shake hands after the fight. He's ruthless. I'm glad I'm not competing against him. His lordship only gave his best because Lord Joachim deserved it, Robert said, drinking water. The kid may be young and inexperienced, but he's got potential. With someone like Lord Zachary guiding him, he'll improve quickly. Yeah, I guess, Sova replied. He glanced at Robert, concerned. Are you okay? You're up against Prince Jacob in the third round. The prince won his last match by default, so he's fresh and well-rested, Robert answered calmly. You should withdraw. No one would blame you for avoiding him, Sova said. But Robert's eyes were steady. Sova, he said firmly, I will never withdraw from a match against Prince Jacob. He dared to mock Our Lady, and I haven't forgotten that. Sova blinked, taken aback. When did he start thinking of her as Our Lady? He understood Robert's anger. Prince Jacob's insults toward Bianca had crossed a line. Still, this was a tournament, not a battlefield. Was Robert treating it as both? Does Robert want to defend her honor through this match? Sova wondered. He clapped Robert on the back, grinning. Then you better win. I'll make sure Lady Bianca hears about how you put that arrogant prince in his place. Robert raised an eyebrow. You don't have to do that. But Sova only became more animated. No, this will be your story to tell. Your wife, your son, your grandkids. This isn't just a joust, it's about honor. I admire your resolve, Robert. Even under pressure, you fight to surpass your limits. That's real chivalry. Robert gave a small, amused smile as he stood up. When you put it that way, I suppose I can't complain, even if I get hurt. With that, he left the tent to prepare for his match. But things didn't go in Robert's favor. Sir Robert sustained a serious injury to his arm, Sova told Bianca later. His shield broke during the match against Prince Jacob. He fought to the end, even though he's left-handed. Bianca's chest tightened. How is he now? The physician said he shouldn't even think about lifting a sword for a while, Sova said. It wouldn't matter for most people. But, this is Robert. No bones were broken, but it's still concerning. Bianca shook her head, guilt weighing on her. Don't feel guilty, Sova, she said softly, though her voice trembled. It's not your fault he got hurt. Trying to lift the mood, she asked. What about you and Sir Gaspard? Sova's face lit up. Gaspard made it to the semifinals. After Lord Zachary, he's the best horseman in Arno's forces. People say the three commanders are close in skill, but honestly, Gaspard's the real contender. He chuckled sheepishly. As for me, I lost. But I'm not upset. I faced a knight from Castilla, built like a fortress. I underestimated him because Castilla's known more for its navy. That was my mistake. Bianca smiled faintly at Sova's good-natured account. Anyway, he said, brightening again, I'll be your guard on the final day. I'll sit with you and explain everything. But Bianca shook her head. No, I'd rather watch in peace and quiet. Sova frowned in mock protest. But to really enjoy it, you have to understand it, my lady. Bianca didn't reply right away. Her thoughts drifted back to Robert. He probably wanted to protect Arno's honor, not mine. The old Bianca wouldn't have cared. But now she did. She could feel Robert's shame and frustration. Losing, especially for a cause that mattered, was devastating. She remembered Robert's words before his match. "You're our master, my lady. Princess Orderly may be the highest-ranking lady in Lahas, but we serve you." How could she not feel anger for him? That night, Bianca struggled to sleep. She finally drifted off, only to awaken from a restless dream. By morning, it was the final day of the tournament. Excitement buzzed through the arena. Bianca sat with Ivonne and Sova. "It's the final day, the excitement's through the roof," Sova said. Turning to Ivonne, Bianca asked, "Did you see his lordship this morning?" "Yes, madam," Ivonne replied. "I served him breakfast." "How did he seem?" Bianca asked, cheeks flushed. Ivonne, noticing her mistress's tired eyes, smiled gently. "Don't worry, madam. His lordship looked just like he always does." Meanwhile, in Zachary's tent, Robert helped him prepare. "How are you feeling?" Zachary asked. Robert bowed low. "Please don't worry, my lord. My arm isn't troubling me today." Zachary frowned. "Even so, don't push yourself too hard." Just then, a familiar voice called from the entrance. "I see you're treating one of your 3 wings like a mere servant." They turned to see Prince Jacob, a smile on his face, hands folded. "Servant's warhead is certainly impressive," he said smoothly. "Maybe I should take a lesson from you, Count Arno." "Sir Robert was the one who competed against me on horseback yesterday," Prince Jacob remarked with a smirk, his voice edged with mockery. "I had no idea people from Arno treated vassals who suffer defeat with such dishonor." Robert's eyes narrowed. "It matters little whether I am on horseback or not," he replied tightly. "It is my honor to serve his lordship, your highness." Prince Jacob tilted his head, amused at the slight crack in Robert's composure. "You speak well for a knight, Robert," he said. "Perhaps you would have fared better as a bard, or a market trader, than on the battlefield." Robert clenched his fist, trying to suppress his anger. Count Arno, standing nearby, finally spoke, his voice even and cold. "There's no need for you to get upset, Robert," he said, causing the knight to flinch. Then he turned his gaze to Prince Jacob. "His Highness is here only to provoke me." Jacob chuckled, making no effort to deny it. "I didn't see Bianca on the 3rd day of the tournament, but I noticed she's here today. It seems one of us will be handing the victor's pose to her after today's match." "No, not one of us," Zachary corrected, his voice steel. "It will be me. I will hand the victor's pose to my wife. So I ask that you refrain from mentioning her name so casually." The prince scoffed. "You're terribly old-fashioned, Count. Why do you think courtly romances are so popular now? It's good for noble women to experience exchanges with other men, just as men do with women outside their marriages." He stepped closer, smiling darkly. "A man like you must have had more than a few such encounters. No doubt you compared Bianca to them each time." Zachary said nothing at first, merely tightening his grip on the lace tied around his arm. "Bianca's gift. I don't compare my wife to others, your highness. Nor do I leave room for any woman to misinterpret my intentions." "Surely you don't believe everyone holds themselves to your standard," the prince replied smoothly. "Is that so? And do you think Bianca feels the same?" Prince Jacob asked. Zachary's gaze darkened as he stepped forward, the tension between them thickening. "Your highness, I am a wolf. A wolf sinks its teeth into its foe's throat and does not let go. You know full well that you stand to gain nothing by provoking me. So why do you persist?" Prince Jacob grinned, satisfied to have drawn even a small reaction. "There's the Count Arno I know. Human after all. I had hoped if I poked you enough, you might slip during the match. It would have been to my advantage if you revealed a weakness." "You're quite the eloquent speaker for a knight, your highness," Zachary said calmly, his meaning pointed. Then, as if recalling something, Zachary added, "What was it you said to my vassal earlier?" "That he might have fared better as a bard or a trader." Robert's face flushed, but Zachary paid him no mind. He stepped past Prince Jacob, pausing by his ear. "No matter the subject, faith, politics, grievance, a knight speaks only through the tip of his lance," he said quietly, then exited the tent with Robert following. Prince Jacob stood still for a long moment before sighing and pressing his hand to his forehead. "Count Arno is a thorn in my side," he thought bitterly. "I lost my chance to make him my vassal. And worse, the king favors him over his own son. I tried to unsettle him by speaking of Bianca, but even that didn't crack his composure. It stings more than I care to admit. He leaned back against a post, scowling to himself. I know I can't win against Zachary d'Arno, the human weapon. All I really wanted was to give my rose to Bianca, just once more. Even if she looked at me with contempt, I still wanted to see her face. How did it come to this? I only teased Bianca because it was the easiest way to get under Arno's and Blanchevette's skin. And now, it's as if I've turned into a fool who's just discovered love. His cheeks reddened in frustration as he raked a hand through his hair. Soon, the final match of the tournament began. The crowds leaned forward, murmuring excitedly as the knights took the field. "Oh, that's him, my lady," Sova exclaimed, pointing. "That's the Castilian knight I faced," he said to Bianca. "I can see why the match was so difficult for you," Bianca said, studying the man. "Even from here, his strength is obvious." "And who is fighting against him?" she asked. "One moment," Sova replied. "They haven't displayed the shield yet." A ripple of excitement swept through the stands. "The Black Wolf. It's Arno's shield," someone cried. "A knight from Arno? Could it be the Count?" Bianca thought, tensing beside Ivonne. The herald's voice rang out, cutting through the noise. "Facing the Castilian peer is Severin's unshakable mountain, Sir Gaspard of Arno." The sound of hooves thundered across the jousting arena, echoing through the open air as banners fluttered in the wind. The tournament was in full swing, and anticipation ran high among the nobles seated in the royal viewing stands. The rules had been explained clearly to the spectators. To win, a knight must strike his opponent's head, shoulder, or shield cleanly with his lance. There would be 3 rounds in total, with victory awarded to whoever won at least 2. However, if a knight was unhorsed at any point, the match ended immediately in favor of the other. The crowd held its breath at each clash, waiting for the telltale fall or the sharp crack of splintering wood, the sign of a flawless hit. Sir Gaspard had dominated the first round with a crushing blow that shattered his lance against his opponent's shield. Cheers erupted from the stands. Towering and broad-shouldered, Gaspard was known for unseating opponents by sheer momentum alone. During the break, Sova explained everything to Bianca as they watched from the stands. "Gaspard won the first round, but that Castilian knight is still a force to be reckoned with," Sova said. "Gaspard's size usually leaves opponents with no choice but to fall when he charges at full speed." Bianca nodded, though tension crept into her expression. The Castilian knight was holding his ground, biding his time. If Gaspard was unhorsed, the match would end immediately, something Bianca couldn't help but worry about. Her mind drifted to the nightmare she had, the feeling of falling from a horse vivid in her memory. She closed her eyes briefly. The second pass commenced. Both knights clashed fiercely, the crowd gasping as lances struck true, but neither fell. In the third and final round, the Castilian knight's lance landed a sharp blow against Gaspard's helmet. Gaspard didn't fall, but his body rocked violently. "Sir Gaspard!" Ivonne gasped, covering her mouth, her eyes glistening. Gaspard managed to stay mounted, but he was clearly swaying. His lance had snapped, and his shield was battered. A low murmur of concern rippled through the stands. Ivonne clasped her hands tightly, looking stricken. The match concluded. Gaspard, whose equipment was wrecked, had been defeated. He rode slowly out of the arena, his figure heavy with the weight of loss. Bianca placed a comforting hand on Yvonne's shoulder as they watched him leave. "Go to him, Yvonne," came a calm, steady voice. Yvonne turned, startled. "Hey? But, madam." "This is an order," Bianca said, her expression composed, though her eyes betrayed a hint of worry. Yvonne hurriedly left the stand. "Thank you, madam. I'll be back soon," she said before disappearing into the crowd. Meanwhile, the victorious Castilian knight crossed the arena floor, a rose in hand. The audience fell silent as he approached the royal box where Princess Orderly was seated. "Please accept my rose." "Your Highness, Princess Orderly," he declared. Gasps rippled through the stands. "His offering a rose to the princess of an allied realm," Sova murmured, his cheeks flushed. "It's like something out of a storybook." "Do they know each other?" he whispered. "How will she respond?" Princess Orderly accepted the flower gracefully, her expression neutral. She said nothing as the Castilian knight rode away. "That was so dull," Sova muttered, looking bewildered. Bianca, however, was deep in thought. Either the Count or Prince Jacob will be next to face the Castilian knight who defeated Gaspard, she mused, clenching her hands. Meanwhile, Yvonne arrived at Gaspard's tent. She found him pressing a water bag against his injured head. As she approached, he paused. Ivonne gently reached for his hand, then softly touched the wound. Gaspard caught her hand in his, looking at her with a rare tenderness. "Sir Gaspard," Ivonne whispered, her cheeks coloring. "I'm not good at expressing myself," Gaspard admitted, his voice low. Ivonne met his gaze, her heart pounding. "How long have you had feelings for me?" she asked quietly. The question lingered in the air. Gaspard didn't speak, but the silence between them held the answer. He recalled the first time he saw her, standing beside Bianca, the moment that led him to volunteer as Bianca's guard. Yvonne smiled through the tears brimming in her eyes. "I wanted to give you a rose today too," Gaspard said, his voice unsteady. Yvonne hugged him gently, her tears falling. "One is plenty," she whispered. Back at the stands, Sova looked around. "Ms. Yvonne is taking a while," Bianca said. "You're so kind, my lady. You even worry about your maid's love life," Sova said, chuckling. "We still have some time before the next match. So, would you like to go see his lordship?" Bianca shook her head calmly. "It's all right. I'd rather not do anything imprudent. His lordship will return to me after his certain victory," she said, composed. Sova looked briefly overwhelmed before laughing. "Oh, my lady, what am I going to do?" he said, his face flushing. "I think I'm becoming even more fond of you." "I think I'm going to become even more fond of you," Sova said, his voice softening as the words settled between them. Bianca tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable. Her voice was steady but searching. "Fond of me? That means you like me as both your master and as a person, correct?" "To be honest, I didn't like you very much in the past," Sova admitted, a small, almost apologetic smile forming. He paused, then continued. "About 2 years ago, Robert and I told his lordship to consider taking a mistress." Bianca blinked, surprised. "A mistress?" If it had been any other aristocratic couple, his lordship would likely have had several children by now. "But you were so young then, and no one knew when the marriage would be consummated. We thought it wouldn't be a bad thing if he fathered an illegitimate child. As long as there was an heir to succeed the title, it would bring stability to Arno. So, we urged him to find a mistress." Bianca listened without outward anger. "What he's saying is that the person I was back then wasn't seen as someone who could properly stand beside him," she thought. "And if I look at it objectively, I can understand why they felt that way. The truth is, even I agree." Sova noted her calm demeanor. "I see you're not angry, my lady," he said quietly. He hesitated, then, with a regretful look, added, "His lordship was furious with us. That day, it was the first time since running away from home as a boy that I truly felt afraid as an adult. His lordship's anger was terrifying. I almost wished he'd send me to the battlefield instead." He gave a small, embarrassed chuckle before his voice turned earnest. "But, now, you are truly the heart of Arno," he said, his gaze steady. "Come to think of it," Bianca remembered, he said something similar when we were walking in the garden. That how people in Arno were beginning to accept me, to rely on me. Sova rose from his seat, then suddenly knelt before her. "I've wanted to apologize properly for a long time," he said, voice steady. "Bringing up mistresses and heirs without thinking about your dignity. It was disrespectful. I don't expect forgiveness. If you wish to punish me, I will accept it without complaint." Bianca's expression softened. She met his eyes and said gently, "Please know, his lordship has never once embarrassed me. He may seem gruff, but you're wrong to think he ever looked elsewhere. I've always been the only one he's cherished." I already know that," Bianca whispered, her face flushing pink. "Oh, I see," Sova said, barely hiding his amusement at her reddening cheeks. "Looks like I worried for nothing. You two are quite affectionate these days," he teased lightly. Without thinking, Bianca pinched his cheek. "This is your punishment," she said, half flustered. "Yes, my lady." Sova yelped, laughing despite himself. "I said I'd accept it gladly." Meanwhile, from atop his horse, Prince Jacob watched the exchange with narrowed eyes. "What is she doing?" he thought, tense. His gaze drifted across the field, only to meet Zachary's piercing stare, heavy with anger. "Count Arno. He's even more emotional now than when I provoked him earlier," Jacob calculated. "Maybe I can use that to my advantage." The sound of a horn rang out, announcing the next match of the tournament semifinals. The second match is between His Highness Prince Jacob de Severin and Count Zachary de Arno. I couldn't leave Bianca alone, so I assigned Sova to guard her, Zachary thought grimly, but seeing them so friendly is driving me mad. He gripped his lance tighter. Maybe Bianca would be happier with someone more charming. Someone who can make her laugh. Someone, unlike an old, blunt man like me. The flag dropped. Zachary charged forward, his mind clouded with frustration. Each strike of their lances grew fiercer as both men battled for dominance. Damn it, I need to end this quickly, Zachary thought, slamming his lance hard against Jacob's shield. The match raged on until finally, the victor was declared. The winner is Sir Zachary of Arno. Jacob reeled from his defeat, grinding his teeth in frustration. From the royal stand, Prince Gautier turned to the king with a grin. That's Count Arno for you. He'll surely defeat the Castilian knight in the finals. The king's expression was less cheerful. Jacob is my son too. Did the count really have to throw him like that? It feels like he's treating me with contempt, he grumbled, leaving Gautier momentarily speechless. Princess Orderly stepped forward thoughtfully. Your Majesty, they say a beast behaves differently depending on its opponent. Seeing that the count confronted Jacob with full sincerity, perhaps it means he respected him enough not to hold back. The king's mood lifted slightly. Oh ho, Orderly. I didn't know you thought so highly of Jacob. It's just as Orderly says, Gautier quickly added. You, above anyone, know how loyal Count Arno is. The king chuckled. Gautier, are you defending him because he's your right hand? He's not my right hand, Gautier replied, smiling. He's your loyal vassal, your Majesty. Gautier leaned closer to Orderly and whispered, Thanks. She smiled sweetly. I'll expect you to pay me back, with interest. Amid the laughter and applause, Zachary's thoughts were elsewhere. Cheers filled the air. My lord, please look this way, my lord, a woman called out from the crowd. Don't pose for your wife, pose for me instead, another teased. But Zachary barely heard them. His thoughts were full of Bianca. This victory, it doesn't mean anything without her. His heart beat faster as he thought of her smile. If not for this tournament, would I have ever had the courage to offer her a rose? Maybe this is my chance, to show her, even if I'm no good at putting feelings into words. As he accepted the rose and found Bianca in the crowd, he smiled. Wait for me just a little longer, he thought, and then I'll come back to you. When she collected the rose from him, he bent to kiss her hand, his heart full of silent promises.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible adventure. If you enjoyed what you watched, please consider liking, subscribing, and ringing that notification bell. Your comments mean the world to us and help us improve. The next episode promises even more excitement and unexpected twists, so stay tuned as we embark on this thrilling journey together. Keep the anticipation alive, and we'll catch you in the next episode.